It's Halloween, a time when monsters, witches, vampires, and spirits roam the land. When you can step out your door and never, ever come back. But Halloween is also a time for stories. Stories that scare. Stories that discover the unknown. Bear with us today and be very, very, very afraid indeed.
I finished placing the two last bows that were missing from the move. It was a couple of edredons and blanket for the bed, which I placed on the top of the closet in my tiny room. I couldn't afford any more. It was the second time that I moved that university years because of the high rent of the student apartments. The last rays of sunlight of that autumn afternoon were coming through the window. I stayed for a few seconds watching the people crossing by on the street. Some came back from work, others simply walked around enjoying the last few days where you didn't freeze with the cold. The sound of a message made me look away from the window to walk around my room looking for my cell phone. I took it off the bed and turned it on. In the message, my mother asked me if I had finished inviting bows, to which I replied yes. I left the phone where it had been and went to the living room to continue doing university work. The living room was separate from the kitchen only by a wall, and to its right was the door to my bedroom and the bathroom. I sat at a desk in front of the only other window in the flat. In it were a pile of books, a laptop, a pencil case, and a lamp. With the problems on the move, I had postponed some university work and hadn't started studying for an exam. This was my first year in a law degree, and for now I was doing quite well. My concentration soon slipped, so I decided to take a shower to clear my mind. I decided to leave the lamp on because it would probably be dark by the time I finished showering. While in the shower I heard a blow. I decided not to give it much importance. Probably something wrongly placed where had fallen. But still curiosity made me finish showering quickly to see what had happened. With a towel wrapped around my body, I went out to the living room and immediately noticed that what had fallen was the lamp that I left on, because the whole room was dark, illuminated only by the little light that came from the bathroom. The switch for the living room ceiling lamp was on the other side of the room. Trying not to step on anything, I crossed the room, feeling the wall until I found it. When I was going to press it, my hand felt something on top of it, as if there was a hand on the switch. Scared, quickly I pulled my hand away, and a few seconds later I brought it back. There was nothing. Exhaustion began to lay twitch on me. With the light on, I was able to observe the situation. In effect, the lamp was on the ground. It was unplugged, about a meter from where I had placed it. Some parts had gone off with the blow and were spread out around the room. It was all quite strange, because it was far away and too heavy for the wind to have blown it off. Actually, the window wasn't open. Without giving it much thought, I went to get the dustpan and the broom to sweep the broken piece. Finally, I took what was left on the lamp and put it next to the garbage can to throw it out. Everything that happened had given me a headache. My intention was that after taking a shower I would start to continue with the university work, but I felt very tired. I made dinner and I went to sleep right away. The next day he had to get up early to go to class. I woke up to the bed of the alarm clock. It was 7 in the morning. I didn't actually have class until 9, but I loved waking up early to watch the sunrise while I organized my day. I went to the kitchen to make my breakfast, a coffee with a toast. I put it on a tray and carried it to the desk. Over breakfast, I started watching the news and looking at my cell phone. Then I remembered that I should call my mother to tell her how everything was going. We were talking for about 15 minutes. In summary, be careful. My father had died in an accident shortly before I went to study in another city, so living alone was something new for my mother, and she called me every day. After talking to her, I realized that I also had some unread messages for my best friend, Elena. We had spent most of our lives together, but the university separated us. She went to study in a different city than me, and we only saw each other on some weekends. She knew that I had problems paying for the previous apartment, and I had none. So she asked me to send her some photos of how I decorated the new apartment. I took some photos of each room, and when I was about to send them, I saw a strange photo on my phone gallery. In it, I appeared asleep. The most disturbing thing was that this photo had been taken that night at 4 in the morning by the second person. Suddenly, my head started to get paranoid and miss situation. What if someone broke into my house the night before? But if it had been a thief, they would have stolen something, but only one lamp had fallen, and they taken a photo of me. And if they had sneaked in, how had they done it and where had they come from? This whole situation made less and less sense. Just in case, I checked that I was not missing anything of value, and checked to see if the front door was open. After checking all that, I finished sending the photos to Elena, and I told her everything that had happened. Shockingly, she replied to my message saying, "Maybe your new apartment is haunted and the ghosts are welcoming you." I was not superstitious and I don't believe in the paranormal, but that message did not make me laugh. With the settlement, I had let my coffee get cold, and I hate cold coffee. I had also left half my toast without eating. I threw it away because I was not hungry anymore. In the end, it was time to go low, and I hadn't planned anything. I got dressed and left the house, walking quickly to be in time to catch the subway that carried me to the university. Being paid in time, it was packed. During the journey, I was thinking about everything that happened, trying to find some conclusion. However, there were no results. The only friend I had at the university, Michelle, was waiting for me at the door, as always. After waiting, I told her too what happened with the lamp and the mysterious photo. Her response was similar to Elena's. Events were beginning to scare me. As Michelle hadn't seen my apartment yet, I invited her to lunch after university. We spent the afternoon talking, and when we realized it was very late. In the end, she stayed for dinner at the night. I left her the bed in my room, and I slept on the couch. I woke up suddenly in the middle of the night, perhaps from some nightmare that I don't remember. My body was a bit sore because the couch was not very comfortable. The only light that illuminated the room was that of the moon that came from the window. With my eyes still half closed, I looked towards the door of the room where my friend slept. At that moment, it seemed as if a shadow was passing in front of the door at high speed. The angle of my posture did not allow me to see the bed, so I don't know if what I had seen moving was Michelle. Perhaps she had gotten up and needed something. Without turning on any light, I curiously approached the door. My friend was in bed, and there were no signs that she had gotten up. She saw my silhouette at the door. "Olivia, what are you doing at the door? Has something happened?" said Michelle sleepily. "No, don't worry, nothing happened. I just saw a shadow moving across the room, and I thought you need something, but I guess I imagined it," I replied. "I think you are being too paranoid. Turn on the light. Let's check there is nothing," she said. I felt along the wall for the switch. This time there was nothing on it, but pressing it didn't turn on the light. "It doesn't work," I said, a little unsettled. "How is not going to work?" she asked. "I don't know. Maybe it was a power outage," I said, trying to solve the problem. Michelle got up and approached me. "I'm going to check the light bulbs," I announced, starting to walk towards about next to the door, where the lights were. "Wait." I stopped walking and took a few steps back. "Why are you reading like that?" she asked. Suddenly, there was silence. "That's not my reading," I said, starting to get scared. Without thinking, I ran to the door and brusquely flipped the switch on the light bulb that was down. Michelle, guessing my movements, hit the switch in the room at the same time. With the light on, I could see my friend's face, agitated by the situation. At that moment, my heartbeat was going as fast as what we heard when we were silent. You could feel the tension in the air. After a few seconds of recovery, where we were trying to assimilate what had happened, I approached the door of the room to back out. The room was empty. There was nobody. "Did you also hear someone breathing?" Lucía asked. "Yes, it wasn't me." At that moment I was calm. "So, whose breath was that?" If we were both relaxed and there was no one else with us, maybe an animal has sneaked in your house, my friend said, trying to calm me down. "An animal of a meter and a half," I said, remembering the shape I seen rushing past before entering the room. "I don't know. It's just an idea," replied Michelle. "It doesn't make sense," I swear. "This is all being very strange and I don't like it." During the last hours I had tried to justify that was happening, and I was running out of arguments. I didn't want to admit that what happening was out of the ordinary. After this scared to death, we both ended up sleeping in the same bed. Sleep well. I just lay there, my head spinning. After our statement, I wasn't able to sleep all night. Also, maybe it was because I expected something had to happen again. And this time I want to be attentive and prove that everything had an explanation. The next morning, the first to wake up was me. I took a shower and got dressed. Then I started making breakfast. By the time I finished cooking, Michelle was already sitting at the table and waiting for her coffee and jam sauce. "Good morning," I said. "How did you sleep?" she asked. "I haven't slept," I said, pointing to the deep black rings that had formed under my eyes from the absence of sleep. "I was able to go back to sleep," Michelle said. "How much sugar do you want in your coffee?" "2 teaspoonfuls, please," she answered, changing the subject. "Who is the man in the painting in your room?" "What painting?" I asked, confused. The one next to the mirror, she replied. There is no painting of a man. There is only one painting in that room, and it is of a landscape. I told her, trying to figure out what painting she was talking about. Last night I thought the painting was of a man, Michelle said. Immediately, I put down the dust I was holding and went to check the painting in the room. I was right. The painting was a mountainous landscape with the river. Behind me came Michelle. You're right, it's a landscape, she said with a hesitant gesture. I swear you last night I thought it was a portrait of a man. It will be your imagination, I told her. Trying to assimilate everything, I sat back down at the table and finished eating. We picked up and went to the college. I did not concentrate on the classes because my mind did not stop thinking about everything that happened. Thinking about it gave me an annoying headache. I decided to go to the bathroom to wet my face and clear my mind. I tied up my hair and turned on the tap. I started pouring water on my face, trying to forget what happened for a few moments. One of the times, as I brought my bowl-shaped hands full of water towards my face, I looked at myself in the mirror. But quickly my eyes went to the reflection of a man standing to my right. I turned around suddenly, but there was no one behind me. I looked in the mirror again, but nobody was there. There was nobody in the bathroom but me. I sat on the toilet with the cover closed for a few seconds to recover from the shock. Michelle noticed my prolonged absence, and she went to look for me in the bathroom. When I told her that she had seen someone in the mirror, she looked at me with a shocked face, as if I were crazy. In spite of what happened to us last night, she didn't seem scared. She looked at me the way you look at a person of a questionable mental health. I was hoping that she would tell me why this was happening to me, but it was not the case. Disappointed, I returned home. I was no mood to put up with 2 more hours of class. I feeling bad. During the following days, I did not go to class. I got sick. I had migraines that didn't let me think. One night I woke up to the sound of knocking. Something was knocking on some glass. The first thing I thought about was the window. It was strange for someone or something to knock on a seat floor window. I walked over to her and raised the blind. The sound was not coming from there. Then I remembered the mirror I had in the room in the front of the bed. I slowly approached. Something was hitting the mirror, like if someone was knocking on a door. That was impossible. The mirror was completely pulled on the wall. With a blow, the window suddenly opened and something hit the mirror. The mark of a hand dragging across the glass appeared on it. Then the mirror began to crack, making the worse. It wasn't empty? I thought. Where is empty? You know the window? I walked out of the window and leaned out. There was something, like an unspeakable force telling me, jump. It was really tempting. What was I saying? I ran to the mirror, picked it up, put it in the closet and closed the window. For a moment, I had thought about suicide. What was happening to me? The next morning, everything seemed like a dream, except that the mirrors were still in the closet, albeit with nothing written on it. Anyway, I put it back in there. That night, it happened again. This time, I woke up to the noise of a voice. In spite of being awake, I kept hearing them. They whispered to me, "Put the mirror back. We can see you." As if in a dream, I took the mirror out of the closet and put it where it was. Afterwards, a sharp piece of the mirror fell to the ground, and it cracked again, making worse. This time it's real. Do it. Automatically, I bent down and grabbed the glass, hurting my hands. I put it to my neck, and everything turned red.